it. Hey there, it's Kobe, also known as Candid Co, here on YouTube. Welcome back to my channel, or if you are new, hi, welcome to my channel where we talk about all things education and lifestyle. So go ahead and check out my other videos down below or on my page and feel the vibes, gotcha. And feel free to subscribe at your earliest convenience. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to get all A's in college, because getting all A's in college is not the same thing as getting all A's in high school, babes. Getting that 4.0 in college is difficult. It's not fun. It's work. But in high school, you know how high school, we were all chilling. College is not like that. You have to actually like put in work. It sucks. But we moved and we did it, and I'm gonna help you guys get that A and get that 4.0 in college, hopefully. Before we get into it, go ahead and check out my blog post. It's gonna be the first link in the description box down below if you wanna check that out. And yeah, let's get right into it. Let's go. All right, so my first tip is to keep your grades high early on. This just means that it's a lot easier to maintain an A when it comes to the end of the year, when you're tired and all your classes are building up and everything's kind of stressful, and then you have to worry about bringing up a B to an A. That's too much. It's too much. Especially when finals are all in 1 week. You want to do well during this year, during the semester, really, when your tests are more spread out and when everything is kind of more chill, because when that finals week comes, you don't want to have to worry about bringing up a B to an A. You want to worry about maintaining 5 A's, because bringing up 5 B's to an A it's a lot. But keeping 5 A's where they're at is easy. Tip number 2 is mandatory. Okay, this is not an option. This is mandatory. Put everything from your syllabus into your calendar. Every due date, every quiz, every test, every essay, every final, everything goes from your syllabus straight into your calendar, and set a reminder for everything so you know that you'll be reminded to do it a day or two before, because professors will usually remind you of these things, but do you really listen in class? I don't know. So make sure you're having these things all in one place into a calendar so that you can see everything all at once, so you know when everything is due. Personally, I use Google Calendar because I want to be able to color code all of my different assignments, and I'm allowed to do that on Google Calendar. So that's just what I use, and I love it. It's great. But if you want to use another calendar app, then go ahead. But just make sure you're putting everything in there and color coding it so you make it easy to see what you have going on. And here's a screenshot of my calendar for reference. So green is due dates and events, orange is quizzes, red is exams, and yellow is finals. That's just what I do, so I know if I see a bunch of red in 1 week, then I have a bunch of exams, or if I see a bunch of green, I have a lot of due dates or whatever. Tip number 3 is to turn everything in on time. The fastest way to lose points is to turn things in late or to not turn them in at all. And because with college, you have way less assignments than you did in high school, a lot of classes will just be maybe a few quizzes and then 3 exams and a final, and that's it. And so if you don't turn in an assignment or a quiz, you're already looking at max an 85 in the class, which is hard to recover from. It's hard to recover from a 70. You know how hard it is to recover from a 0. It's dang near not possible. So make sure you're turning everything in on time, even if it's incomplete or if it's BS'd, doesn't really matter. I mean, obviously it matters, but it's better to turn it in half done than not at all, in my opinion. But zeros are not your friend, and a lot of times professors don't do extensions, so you really want to turn everything in on time. Tip number 4 is to know the grade breakdown. So for some reason this isn't really talked about as much, but I feel like it should be, because this is something that I do to kind of know if I can study less for a class. So basically, when you're looking at your class's syllabus, you want to look at what percentage of your grade is what. Because if your grade is 90% exams and then 10% assignments, then you really have to focus a lot on doing well in your exams. Or some classes, like for my Spanish class, our final exam was 40% of the grade. And then The exams were probably another 40, and then some other small stuff. That is 40% of your grade is one test. You have to do really, really well on that one test because it's worth a lot of your grade. But for another one of my classes, our final was 25%. Another one of my class, the final was like 20%. So those classes, the exam isn't worth as much. But if your class is 40% exams, 40% final, and then 20% other, you really have to focus on your exams and your final, you know? But in a class where, you know, your final is worth 20%, exams are worth 30%, and then 50% is assignments, then focus heavily on your assignments because those are probably a lot easier to do so that you can have kind of a grade buffer. And so you don't have to do as well on the other things. So just know that to know if you have to study a lot or a little for exams. That helps me study less in classes. Tip number 5 is to go to class. This is really easy to do. The classes are set up for you. It's in a schedule. It's blocked out time of your day for you to go to your classes. So you need to go to your classes, whether it's online or in person, go to your classes because the odds of you learning the same amount of information in that hour or hour and a half period on your own are slim to none. You're probably not going to do it. So just go to class because it's there for you. And so you can hear from your professor what they want you to remember. They'll emphasize things. They'll tell you, you need to know this. If they say that, then you need to know that, obviously. But if you don't go to class, you wouldn't know that, you know? Also, anything that your professor repeats needs to be written down and bolded and highlighted in your notes. You need to know it forwards and backwards in 3 languages and with 3 examples, because that's probably gonna show up on your final and your exam. So know it. Also, if you're allowed to, record the lecture so you can listen back on it later on. That's another way to help you study. And it also helps you rehear the smaller details that your professor just kind of glazed over. But a lot of times those little details show up on the exams as well. Tip number 6 is to listen to your professor. So this just means that most of the time in college classes, the professor makes the exam. And so whatever they say goes. This is not the time to start being a smart aleck and to be questioning everything they do and trying to do things your own way. We're trying to get a grade here. We're trying to do well. You can do the most later on, do the most at home, but on the test day, on the exam day, you need to do how your professor taught you. You need to use the verbiage your professor used, use the examples your professor used because that's what they want you to know. That's what the answer key says. It's like that's what you need to be putting on the test, okay? And even if Google says they're wrong, Google didn't make the test, now did they? I didn't think so. Tip number 7 is to go to tutoring or go to office hours or go to your TA if you have a TA and use the free resources your school has. Now, and also your school should have tutoring. Like I'm a tutor, come to me, but your school should have free tutoring available by other students. So yeah, go to tutoring, get the help you need. There's no need for you to be struggling in classes when you have free resources that know what they're saying and that know how the test is going to be, and they can help you. They're there to help you. If you go to office hours, which I highly recommend, be sure to ask your professor what you should focus on and what are the most important things so you can kind of know what to study more. Tip number 8 is to type your notes. So there are people that disagree with me, but honestly, what do they know? Okay, listen, it is true that writing things helps you remember things better. However, in classes that are very notes heavy, like biology or ecology or kinesiology, which is my major, or probably psychology and other classes like anthropology that are very notes heavy. A lot of times on the exams, they're so annoying, bro. The way they'll do it is they'll mention one thing one time randomly in class, and then that thing, it shows up on the exam. And if you're writing your notes, you probably would have missed it because when you're writing notes, you write slower. So you tend to focus on the more important details. And people will tell you you should focus on the big ideas, but that's not a good idea when you're in a class where the professor likes to pick random details to put on the test, you know? So you want to be able to get all the small details onto your notes. And you can do that if you type your notes and you type fast. So you can, as your professor is talking, you're typing. Because people type faster than they write generally. So if you learn how to type fast and you type your notes, then later on you can go and rewrite your notes and summarize it there. But at least you'll be able to have almost a transcript of what your professor said in class, because that's a lot easier for those notes heavy classes. Now, if you're in a class like a math class or chemistry or something like that, where you have to draw things out, then yeah, write your notes. Obviously, if writing notes would be better for the class that you're in, then write your notes. But if you're in a very typing notes like heavy class, then type your notes. Tip number 9 is to download all PowerPoints. Again, for my notes heavy classes, professors like to pick one sentence off the PowerPoint slide and then put that on the exam. And it's like, really? So you want to be able to have the PowerPoints that you had in class if your professor allows you to download them, because in my school, the professors have the PowerPoints available to students. So if your teachers do that, then you want to download the PowerPoints, maybe look over them before you go to class so you kind of know what's going on. And then also, one thing I like to do is I like to download the PowerPoints and then take notes on the PowerPoint, so I don't have to be looking back and forth between my notes and the power. It's too much. So I just like to do that. Again, that's only if you type your notes though. Just make sure you're saving the PowerPoint with your notes on them, or else you will lose all your notes. Not gonna say that happened to me, but it happened to me and it sucked. Tip number 10 is to study effectively. So obviously you're gonna have to study in order to do well in class. Like, that's just common sense, especially because we're in college. Classes are a lot harder and more specific. You have to study to well. I'm coming out with a video in about a week, maybe 2 weeks, on my best study methods and my best study tips. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, just make sure you're studying effectively, finding the different methods that work for you and that work for the classes that you're in, because different classes require different studying methods. So just make sure you're looking at those and trying out different study tips to keep you in the studying habit. And my last tip, number 11, is to befriend your professors. This is really, 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 really important for bumping up grades, for getting them to, grade easier on your assignments and on your projects and on your essays. Because projects and essays are very subjective. And so if your professor doesn't like you, if they don't know you, then they're gonna kind of grade it however. But if they know you and they're like, oh, I know Kobe, then they'll be more inclined to let things slip, or to just give you that extra point or two to make your grade look nice. And they'll be more willing to bump your grade up at the end of the semester, different things like that. So if you go to office hours and you ask questions in class, sit in their front in those like the first 2 or 3 rows, so your teacher knows your face and they know your name, then you'll be in a better position for getting those better grades. And this is a really big finesse, because I've seen a C paper get an A because my friend was cool with the professor and he was just like, whatever, do whatever you want. So yeah, just, get them easy grades however you can. And that is it. Those are all the tips that I have for you guys today. I hope you found these helpful. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below what your best tips are for getting all A's. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, check out my blog, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.